Hello, this is the Onosaurus, and I am here to talk about the brand new, I guess it was discovered in February, but the newly gaining popularity thanks to Cosmo Wright, arbitrary code execution method that's used. In particular, his latest world record, I believe, is 9 minutes and 22 seconds. This method was put together by Sockfolder. So props to him, with the world record run being executed by Cosmo Wright. But there were some real interesting attempts where Cosmo was not getting the proper ending of the game. Allow me to demonstrate. This is the very, quote, end of the game. It's not the actual end of the game, but in this method of doing the run, basically this is the last thing you do. You end up swapping these two items, and you're about to call the credits, basically, with arbitrary code execution. This is explained in wonderful detail by Sockfolder himself. You can look it up on Google. Look for, he calls it SOS, what's it, something, shenanigans. I forget what SOS stands for. It's the same thing as what Cosmo calls ACE, which is arbitrary code execution. But anyway, basically, after writing this code in memory, explained very well by Sockfolder, he has a 37-minute video, you are supposed to go to relics, and it is supposed to call the ending cutscene of the game. And you beat the game. But a few times this happened. Notice the camera's beginning by panning to the left instead of panning to the right. And actually, this is not the ending cutscene. This is the cutscene that you get when you're halfway done with the game, on the way to the inverted castle. So, Cosmo posted a funny video on his YouTube channel saying, I discovered a new Richter skip. Because that's basically all this is. Skipping the battle with Richter, controlled by Shaft, and going to the inverted castle. But that's not what we want. And it begs the question, why did this occur? I just paused the video, that's why it's all black right now. And I want to bring your attention to the memory for a moment. There are many instructions and many facets to this trick, but the memory location I want to bring your attention to is 97A9C. It is an instruction that is 4 bytes. And the 4 bytes are usually 2E9F, note the difference here, 59A0. And the instruction was essentially broken by this bit being 5 instead of 9F. The simplest explanation in 1 or 2 sentences is that this instruction eventually sets a flag in memory to be the value 3, which means call the best ending of the game, that means you beat it. But because this byte is incorrect, it ends up not setting that flag to be 3, and therefore, even though the code to call the cutscene works, when it looks, hey, which ending should I play, there's a 0, I believe, in that place in memory. Or it's either 0, or if you beat the game, it's whatever that value was in memory, which is by default 0, but if you've played through the game without resetting the console, it may be non-zero. But anyway, the goal is for it to be 3, so you get the good ending. And that byte is not set to 3 because this instruction failed. I'm not sure if this was the instruction in Cosmo's case, where he played for like an hour or two and he just kept getting the Richter ending, the Richter skip, and he kept testing all sorts of different things. And I'm not sure exactly what caused it in his case, but I know in my case, it's because this instruction was not forming correctly. Why did it not form correctly? It's actually not because I followed the instructions, the menu swapping instructions incorrectly. I'll show you why I believe it happened. But first, let me show you the correct cutscene. I'm going to load a quick save state. Okay. So I just loaded a save state where there we go. Sorry, it was paused, so the memory froze for a second. I just loaded a save state where, again, I'm at the end of the game, but this time the memory value note in the memory column, it's 9F instead of the 05 that it was before. So let's see what happens if I go to the relic menu when it's 9F. Notice the cutscene begins by panning to the right. This is in fact a different cutscene, even though it begins overlooking the castle. This is the cutscene at the very end of the game when you beat it. Beam of light comes down. Yay, we're saved. Okay. But the question remains, why did I correctly get the 9F in this file, and how come in many other files myself, and I assume others who are trying, are sometimes not getting this 9F? Well, in order to figure that out, we need to figure out where this 9F comes from, and how does it get there in the first place. So I'm going to load a file just to show you a correct file. A file that is ready, and if I go through all of SockFolder's instructions, will work. So this is a file, basically the last thing you do, here's my little, I can't show my cursor, but anyway, the last thing you do before beating the game is you do save corruption. So here I am in the save corrupt state. You'll notice if I go to sort my items, I have all the short swords. Again, all this is explained in a lot of detail by SockFolder. Let me just give myself some controls. If you corrupt it perfectly, you don't have to redo your controls, but you have to get kind of lucky for that. Okay, I have control of my character. Yay. So, here I am in the similar portion of memory, and, or the same portion of memory, actually. So this is that instruction. It's not set yet, because we didn't do the arbitrary code execution and buffer and swap overflow. That's what SOS stands for. Swap overflow shenanigans. Oh, crap. Sorry about that. I'm using joy to key, so when I run around, it's overriding the memory values, which is not what I wanted, and may crash the game. But I can still make my point. So, looking where does 9F come from, it turns out that the 9F was coming from here. This is the correct file. This is the file where it worked. Now, originally, the numbers are in order. 90. Well, this is hex, so it's not really 93. It's 9 times 16 plus 3, but whatever. 93, 94, 95, da 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 da. 9A, B, C, D, E, 9F. The 9F was originally here in this memory site. However, at some point during gameplay, the 9F moved to here. And this is the correct spot that 9F has to be in. And this is the spot that SockFolder's swap code relies on 9F being in order for his code to work. And if it's not there, then you'll get the Richter skip ending, basically. So, okay, here's the good file where 9F is. Where is it in the bad file? I want you to note these two areas. This is a 9F, this is a 4. I'm going to reload one of my broken files. I say broken because basically it'll get the Richter skip. So here I loaded it. Recall the 9F was originally here, and this was a 4. But this time the numbers switch places. Yes, I know it's a 5, not a 4, but you know, that could be anything. The important thing is the 9F is in the wrong spot. I'm going to load another one of my files that failed. Over here. This time I think it is a 4. Oh, this time it was a 6. So, here we have a 6 over here, and the 9F here. Remember, in the file that worked, the 9F should have been swapped into here. So in the working file, 9F is here. In the broken files, the 9F is still back here by the time we get to the save corruption. So the question is, why did this occur? Well, I have several save states that I'll use to illustrate that. They're basically at different points throughout the game. So here's the beginning of the game. 9F is in its original spot. Continuing through the game, you know, going past the first area, 9F is still there. We're in the Alk Labs. 9F is still there. We do this, the elevator trick, 9F is still there. But at this point in the game, the 9F still isn't there. But the 9F also isn't over here. What happened to it? Well, we don't need to worry about that for the moment. Could go into the details, but not even worth it. Just the important thing to know is that 9F gets moved at some point. And it's supposed to come back. So I'm going to fast forward to this quick save all the way over here. This is the point where you get damage boosted for the first time all the way up here. And sock folder's instructions read, and I'm going to follow them exactly. They read, basically, jump over the anti-venom, pick up the potion and the fairy. And then he says, at some point, swap the potion into the first slot. I'm going to make the memory large now so you can see what happens. So it says, at some point, potion in the first slot, swap with the Alucard sword, and use the potion. So I swapped with the Alucard sword, I'm using the potion, and I'm picking up the anti-venom. And hey, look what just happened! 9F finally showed up. Let me show that again with the memory open. So here it is at 90, or 90. I do exactly what sock folder says, even if I do the potion late. So here, this time I'm picking up the anti-venom first, but when I swap them, 9F goes into memory. And that's exactly the correct place that it has to be when you save your game in a moment. And then you will get the correct ending and not the Richter skip. So this seems to be one of the critical junctures. Now, because this method is so technical and particular, you can mess it up literally hundreds of different ways. But I think this is one of the most common ways that someone can mess it up. So what happens if you pick up the anti-venom first, which sock folder says explicitly not to do? Let's see what happens. Now I go, and the potion's in the wrong spot. I go to equip it, but wait a minute. The 9F still gets put in the right spot. Now, I have not done this and played through the whole file, but I assume that the method will mess up in some way. Even though the 9F goes here, it probably messes up the code in some other way. But the 9F gets there, so maybe the 3 gets set in memory, but it may fail somewhere else. So let's assume that sock folder's instructions were for a good reason, and I'm sure they were, because he spent a lot of time developing this. So let's try something else. We did what he said, and now I want to use the potion. But instead of putting the potion over the sword, let's say, I'm freaking out, I'm speed running, I just want to equip the potion as fast as possible, and this second inventory section, or the left hand happened to be selected instead of the right hand. Let's see what happens. So when I equip the potion over the shield, the memory did not update. It's still 7B here. Whereas if I instead equip it over the sword, then we get our 9F in the highlighted memory area. So I think one way that people are failing this is by equipping it over the shield, using the potion, and then equipping the shield back. And now if I drop the sword, now I have 1-0 in that. You can get all sorts of different values, such as that, the 5 that you saw before, the 6 that you saw before, and in this case, the 1-0, the 10 or the 16 technically. So, basically, in short, I think there's a lot of ways to fail this method, and I think one way that the Richter skip may be happening without people realizing is at this critical juncture. So let me just show a couple other things. Let's say this first slot weren't open. What would happen if you did it this way? So this time the potion was it was still in the first empty slot, but it wasn't in the same slot. Will it still work? Yes. As you can see, the 9F still goes in the correct area. Potion up. re-equip the sword, and move on. So that would not mess up the instruction there. What about... so when Cosmo does this, does he de-equip? No. He has the shield de-equipped, I think. Yes. So he de-equips his shield for his damage boost. So then he equips the potion where I told you not to, in that second hand. Because, well, he de-equipped the shield, so the cursor is already on the other hand. Sorry, I should probably switch back to this view. And then potions, and then, you know, equips back for shield dashing. When I do this, I have my bad value of 5 still there. However, in Cosmo's world record attempt, or excuse me, in his world record, I should say, it works. I believe what he does is immediately after the fairy card, he equips the potion, uses it, and then picks up the anti-venom. But wait, look what happened. The 9F went in. So it's so darn picky the exact order you do things in, because some orders it will work and some orders it won't. Basically, in summary, if you come into this with the shield taken out, as long as you jump over the anti-venom and use the potion before you pick up the anti-venom, then when you run over the anti-venom, you get your nice 9F. If you're coming into this room and your shield is equipped, if you did not need to take it off to damage boost because you're using an alternate method to boost up here, then the order is not as critical. But if you were to put the potion in the left hand like Cosmo does and use the potion, then you get a totally different number in memory. You have a 7B here, and all sorts of things. In short, the order of things in this room, while it may seem insignificant, actually has a huge impact on the run and can easily break your run. So what I suggest is finding one of the methods I discussed that works and do it the same way every time consistently. Cosmo's method that he does in his 9-minute, 22-second world run works great if you do not have the shield equipped. If you do have the shield equipped, then, again, hop over. And the main difference is that if you have your shield equipped, if I pick up the anti-venom first, before I use the potion, does not matter. I get my 9F there. Whereas if you do not have the shield equipped, the exact order matters very much, and you need to make sure you use the potion before you pick up the anti-venom. Any questions, please feel free to post in comments, send me a Twitch message. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks again to Sockfolder for discovering this method. I'm going to post a link to his explanation, and I will also post a link to Cosmo's latest world record, which is 9 minutes 22 seconds. I sincerely hope that this helps some people who are accidentally getting the Richter the long Richter skip. I sincerely hope this helps you. Happy gaming. This is Onosaurus signing out.